ABC 7 News Today begins with breaking news.
Hey, you guys, get down! Go that way! Get out of here! There's gunshots coming from over there! Go that way! Go that way!
It was one of the darkest days in American history. We'll be getting into everything happening in Las Vegas this morning. Good morning to you. I'm Greg Bledsoe from here in Las Vegas. Answers, still, that's what investigators want as to how this happened, why this happened, and they have someone to talk to this morning that may be able to help them fill in some of the holes. The shooter's girlfriend is now back here in the United States. We will get to all of that in just a moment. We have a team coverage here. We have several crews on the ground. Rory Devine is here. Liberty Zabala is here. We're going to be talking to them about victims. But first, we're going to begin today with what we've learned over the last 12 to 24 hours. If you're joining us this morning, again, we know that the shooter's girlfriend is back here in the U.S. Mary Lou Danley arrived at LAX yesterday. She's in the custody of federal investigators. They want to talk to her about several things. The gunman's girlfriend arrived here yesterday, and one of the things they want to talk to her about is a wire transfer of money. We'll talk about that in just a moment. They're not calling her a suspect. Also yesterday, police talked about the timeline of the shooting. First shots were fired, they say, at 10:08 Sunday night. In all, he fired for about 9 to 11 minutes, and we're getting some new information on how Stephen Paddock planned this attack. There's images coming from inside the room. Investigators showing how extensively this was planned. They say that Paddock had set up a camera inside the room looking out through the peephole into the hallway, also a camera outside of the room that he had hidden in a food cart in order to see if anyone was coming towards the door. By the way, a security guard did come towards that door. He was shot through the door in the leg. We also know that investigators are very interested in Paddock's financial history, so more on that money transfer right now, because part of what they're looking at is a $100,000 money transfer that was made to an offshore account in the Philippines last week. That's where Danley, Paddock's girlfriend, was at the time of the shooting. She has been visiting family there in the Philippines. It's not exactly sure or clear right now why he transferred the money, but investigators are hoping that Danley may be able to help fill them in on some of why that money was transferred, if she knew anything at all about why he may have done this. So again, investigators are going to be keying in on Mary Lou Danley today. We want to get to the victims part of all of this. Liberty Zabala has been talking to victims, including a San Diego woman, or at least her family, because that San Diego woman, Liberty, is fighting for her life right now.
Yes, Greg, we now know of 27-year-old San Diego victim Tina Frost. We know that she is recovering at a nearby hospital. And I spoke with a family friend of her mother's who told me during this horrific shooting, Tina was shot in the face. And Amy Klinger sent me these photos of San Diego accountant Tina Frost. She told me Frost works at Ernst & Young as a CPA. Klinger said Tina was attending the concert with her boyfriend and other friends from California when the gunman fired into the crowd. Now, Tina was the only one in their group who was hit. She suffered a single gunshot wound and was rushed to Sunrise Hospital. Klinger said doctors there had to remove her right eye, and right now Tina Frost is in a coma.
The bullet did cause damage in her during surgery. Her right eye needed to be removed, and it did cause some damage to her skull. But they are closely monitoring that. She has no other severe injuries to any other part of her body, but she is, her vitals are good and they're getting stronger every day.
Now, I did speak with Tina's mother over the phone briefly, and you can imagine just what this family is going through. She did confirm with me a GoFundMe page that was posted online that is raising funds for Tina's medical expenses, which will be undoubtedly very costly moving forward. This is a life-changing injury, but so many people from all over the world have been showing this family and this young woman support. At last check, the GoFundMe page has already raised nearly $150,000. Greg?
Wow, amazing to see the response both financially and then what people are giving as far as their time out here, the blood banks as well. Thank you, Liberty, so much. We'll get back to you a little bit later on. We do want to talk about the victims, though, who lost their lives in that attack. 58 in all, more than a dozen of them we found out from Southern California, and one woman from San Diego. Her name was Jennifer Irvine. She was an attorney in San Diego. NBC7 reached out and spoke to one of her friends, a colleague that had known her for more than 10 years from law school. Here's what he had to say.
Ways to make a lot of money practicing law, but there's only certain types of people that will go into the areas to actually help people and make a difference in their lives.
Irvine, we know, had lived in Claremont for a while and recently moved to Bankers Hill. Here in Las Vegas, there have been a lot of vigils. There have been a lot of memorials popping up all over town. There's going to be one in San Diego tonight as well. We want to let you know about a vigil going on later on this evening at the North Park, at the Mission Gathering Church in North Park. That's at Polk and Illinois Street, and that starts at 7 o'clock tonight. We also want to get you a little bit more information on Stephen Paddock's background right now. So let's get back to the investigation part of this. Specifically, what you're going to be hearing a lot about today, Mary Lou Danley. So we'll go back to her right now. That's Stephen Paddock's girlfriend, who was overseas, out of the country, visiting family in the Philippines when the shooting happened. So investigators, now that she's back here in the U.S., want to talk to her specifically about the money transfer that we had talked about a little while ago. So let's get more on that right now. Senior law enforcement officials want to know just how much she knew about the planned attack, if anything at all. Again, they're not calling her a suspect, just a person of interest, someone they want to talk to. And again, there's that $100,000 transfer that was made to a bank account in the Philippines at the same time that Danley was there. According to court records, Danley was previously married but divorced in 2015, so we're learning a little bit more about her history as well. Let's get to what investigators are saying about her, or her brother anyways.
Steve was a big fish at the Atlantis in Reno. They were adorable.
Prior to the attack, Paddock and Danley had been living together. And now let's get to what's happening later on today as well. In addition to the investigation, President Trump will be visiting here, Andrews Air Force Base. Live for you right now, where he will be boarding Air Force One and flying here to Las Vegas later on this morning. The president said he expects to spend at least the full day here, possibly into tomorrow. He'll be meeting with doctors, nurses, first responders, victims, and families. It's going to be a very full day here in Las Vegas, and this is coming off what was a very full day yesterday as well. The president visiting Puerto Rico yesterday, a full day there to meet with hurricane victims, following up on the hurricane that hit there now about 2 weeks ago at the point where he's just making his first visit there as well. So he called the shooter yesterday in Puerto Rico sick and demented. He hasn't said if the shooting, though, should lead to changes in gun control laws. Democratic lawmakers, though, have used the shooting to rally around stricter gun control measures. Republicans, in the meantime, being a little bit more cautious with their words.
All things that make America safer and don't infringe on the Second Amendment count me in.
Now, the president did draw some criticism, getting back to Puerto Rico right now, for some of his response yesterday, comparing the hurricane that hit there to Hurricane Katrina, calling Katrina a real catastrophe. So some people a little upset about the comments made by the president yesterday. Not sure if he'll respond to that criticism today. But again, President Trump will be here in Las Vegas later on this morning, and he's expecting to stay at least the full day today. We have a lot more to get to on the investigation. We'll get to Rory Devine later with more of the victim stories. But for now, that's the latest from here in Las Vegas. I'm Greg Bledsoe. Marianne and Nicole will send it back to you in San Diego.
And Greg, you've been there since Monday afternoon. We noticed behind you the street is open. What are the changes that you have seen since it happened Sunday night? People talking more? Are they a little bit more relaxed? Or is it still that sort of tense situation?
Yeah, well, we'll start with that street since you mentioned it, Marianne. Las Vegas Boulevard, part of it here behind us, was shut down for more than 40 hours. It did not reopen until a little after 6 o'clock yesterday evening. So that was a major change around here. Traffic's moving through again now. It sort of has that feeling as though things are coming back to life. But we mentioned this yesterday, and we've just continued to see this. The feeling here really depends on where you are. There are memorials set up. There are people dropping flowers and candles. There have been vigils. So there's still that sadness around. But if you walk in some of the hotels at the same time, it looks like business as usual. There are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in this city right now on vacation, here for conventions, here for meetings, and so life does go on. So it really depends on where you are, the feeling that you get.
Well, it is indeed the land of the Great Escape, as they call it.
Yep, Sin City. Okay, thank you so much, Greg. Time now for a check of our first alert weather. Going to be warming up today. Jody, good morning.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be warming up today and then like heating up into the days to come. So let's start with the 4 regions of the county. It is going to be a sunny day. I mean, really quickly here because we only have a few clouds out there. Many areas are already clear. There is a gigantic moon out there. Tomorrow that moon will be full. You'll see it's beautiful as you drive out, especially if you're an early riser. Now 75 is going to be the high at the beaches today. Nice and warm, just really pretty, okay? 80 degrees for the inland valleys, starting to see the temperatures climb. That's about 5 degrees warmer than we were yesterday. In the mountains, you're about 7 degrees warmer than you were yesterday. 72 will be the high today and 89 in the deserts, which will be gorgeous. Here's the thing. We are starting off cold though, so don't forget temperatures are in the 50s in most spots of the county. Many areas even along the coastline are in the 50s, so you'll need your jacket. So let's take a look ahead. If you are making plans for the next couple of days, plan to dress lightly, especially if we're talking outdoor plans. Tomorrow we're looking at about 78 at the beaches, climbing beyond that to about 81 by Friday. So we go from well below average to above average as we head toward the weekend. Our inland valleys are in for some hot weather. You can see we're 80 today, but by tomorrow, another 7-degree jump. Keep in mind, we just jumped 5 degrees, another 7. We're looking at like a 12-degree jump over a 2-day span. So that's crazy. 91 for Friday. So it is a weak Santa Ana, going to warm us into the weekend. This is not even the hottest temperature. So if you stay put, we're going to take a look at it together. The updated models I got for you this morning on our 10-day forecast. We're going to send it to Whitney now.
Okay, thanks, Jody. 5:11, our first alert traffic time. Let's check out South Bay real quick, and no problems at all down here. We had a little problem over here on the 54. That's cleared up now. 54 at National, and no problems there now. So 8005, if you're headed from the border up to Mish Valley, looking good. Looking good all over the county, as a matter of fact. I've still had an accident in the clearing stages up on the 5 Encinitas area. Watch out for that if you're headed north in the next few minutes. Other than that, things look pretty good out there on this Wednesday morning. Just about 5:12. Let's get back over to more news. I'll see you back over here in a bit.
On this special edition of NBC7 News Today, we're continuing our team coverage of the Las Vegas mass shooting.
Also, hearing from a father whose daughter called him for help.
I think her exact words were, "Daddy, they're shooting at me." And I was like, oh my God.
His and other stories of heroism ahead, and a live update once again from Greg Bledsoe, live from Las Vegas. That's coming up for you at 5:30. But first, here's what else we're working on for you this morning. It's an important week for tens of thousands of people right here in San Diego as the DACA filing deadline quickly approaches.
And the latest on the effort to rebuild Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, including how President Trump offended some people during his trip there. You're watching NBC7 News Today. It's 5:12.
It's 5:15 right now. There is no more time for waiting. That's the message today from immigrant rights activists to those eligible to renew their status under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or also known as DACA.
And there are thousands right here in San Diego that this affects. Audra Stafford joins us here with the big deadline they're facing. And there's no wiggle room here. It's a hard and fast deadline.
No wiggle room, that's right. Tomorrow is the deadline. Those renewal applications must be in the hands of immigration officials tomorrow. They will not be accepted after that. This only affects those whose DACA permits expire between September 5th of this year and March 5th of next year. After that, the program will be phased out. A total of about 154,000 people nationwide are eligible to renew. As of yesterday, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services told NBC7 they had received about 106,000 renewal requests, though it's unclear how many of those might be from San Diego. Immigrant rights activists are urging those who haven't renewed yet to do so immediately. And at this point, there is still time to overnight your application to get it there on time. That's probably your best option. Alliance San Diego also recommends calling an immigration attorney to help you through that process because, again, tomorrow is the deadline.
And it's expensive.
It is. And there are some groups out there who can help with that fee. Alliance San Diego is one of those for those who are struggling to pay that. So talk to Alliance San Diego, talk to an immigration attorney, get it in tomorrow.
Okay, Audra, thank you.
As search crews recover some of the last remaining victims of the Mexican earthquake from the rubble, officials have updated the number of people killed to 367 in that 7.1 magnitude earthquake. And now people around the capital are starting to ask why some of the buildings collapsed, even after updated structural improvements.
And a disaster relief center has been opened up at Orlando International Airport to help Puerto Ricans who were displaced by Hurricane Maria. The center is one of 3 locations set up by Governor Rick Scott. At each of those centers, there are resources to help those who fled find jobs, housing, and other assistance. Officials say finding places for people to live is their greatest concern because the housing market in Central Florida is so tight. Also in Puerto Rico, where the president's making the first of 2 back-to-back visits to 2 very different disaster zones.
We're going to help you out.
Thank you.
Have a good time.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
President Trump there meeting families yesterday in Puerto Rico. And, you know, a lot of people are talking about this, a little bit controversial, that the president was just tossing out paper towels to residents affected by Hurricane Maria and praising at the same time the federal response, though raising eyebrows by comparing the death toll in Puerto Rico to Hurricane Katrina in 2005.
Look at a real catastrophe like Katrina, and you look at the tremendous hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that died. You can be very proud of all of your people, all of our people.
Power still out to 93% of the island. A few services, though, are improving, but very slowly. And today, a Navy hospital ship will be pulling into port, offering their support.
Yeah, we saw so many hurricanes this season. Hopefully we're done.
Give it a break for a bit, right? I mean, yeah, no kidding, absolutely. It's always nice when you can see nothing.
Yes.
That's the best. At our beaches here at home, we're starting off cold. A lot of areas across the county are in the 50s that weren't yesterday. So if you were at the beaches today, you may have been mild yesterday in the upper 60s this time in the morning, but today, for example, Imperial Beach is 58. So grab a jacket as you head out, but take a look at the mild afternoon that we have in store. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. 75 for Oceanside, Del Mar about 71 today, and then 75 for downtown San Diego. So the coast is mild to slightly warm. Inland Valley's getting up there now to about 80 degrees. So you will be in for a warm afternoon, but just gorgeous. The sun is going to be out as soon as it comes up because we don't have very much cloud cover out there at all right now. In the mountains, we will be pleasant as well. Temperatures are up. So yesterday, you were about 65 in Julian. Today, 72. We are seeing these temperatures jump pretty drastically over the next couple of days, and 91 in Borrego. So the deserts enjoyed a couple days in the 80s, and now we're going to be back into the 90s. Here's your first alert 10-day forecast, starting first with the beaches. So the beaches tomorrow are going to be about 78. And then on Friday, as we head toward the weekend, we enter the 80s at the coast, which is typical of this time of the year, but we've had kind of a nice break, so it might catch some of you off guard. As we head into the weekend with 80s at the beaches, it's going to be lots of sunshine. Sunday marks a downturn in the temperatures and will be very warm still, 76, but head into a weekend where we do have lovely conditions. Each day next week, little morning cloud, it clears to sunny skies, and we have mid to possibly upper 70s. So very nice for this time of the year. Not looking at any major Santa Ana, thank goodness. I continue to say that. This is the time of the year where we don't want any wildfires, and we hope the winds stay at bay. So as we take a look at our inland valleys, we're going from 80 today, 87 tomorrow. So getting up there, and by Friday, 91. The hottest day, Saturday. I know a lot of kids have outdoor sports on Saturday, and it's going to be a hot one. Keep that in mind. Back down into the low 80s, even upper 70s into next week. So there you are. There's your mountain and desert first alert 10-day, warming up to about 81 on Saturday in the mountains and just under 100 in the deserts. All right, we're going to send it to Whitney, who's going to have your morning commute for you.
Okay, if you're watching the clock, just about 5:21 first alert traffic time. And one incident up here in North County you need to know about. If you get out the door here anytime soon headed north on that 5, we had an accident earlier. That's cleared. Now we got a lot of junk out there in the road. According to the CHP, getting a couple of reports in up around Palomar Airport Road, a lot of wood debris, a big box, bunch of stuff out there. So they're going to be shutting that lane down, get it cleared up. So just keep that in mind over the next 10, 15, 20 minutes. So you have to get a crew up there. So if you're headed out the door again, 5 north, the one incident of North County. Everything else looking pretty good up there. All right, hey, we told you earlier it is International Walk to School today. I know a young lady who's going to be biking to school thanks to Bikes for Kids. Yeah, this time around, Fletcher Hills Elementary out in El Cajon, 5th grade class. Teacher Greg Beach, longtime advocate of the Bikes program and what it can do to inspire our kids to excel not only as students but good citizens. This week's recipient, no exception, shows up every day eager to learn. Look at all those great smiles. Yeah, here she comes. Always looking great out there. Kaya McElroy, 10 years old and on her way to success. Way to go, Kaya. Well deserved. Hi, kids. How you guys doing? I hope you're having a good day in school. All right. We do these every week. Want to see and learn more? Link with the Salvation Army, our partners in this great program. Just go to NBC7.com. Type in Bikes for Kids. Love that. A little bit of good news when there seems like, ladies, all we are is surrounded by bad news lately. So
we certainly need it, Whitney.
Yep.
You know what? You picked up right on what I did. I saw just that room full of smiles, and all those kids are great.
Everyone lit up.
Okay, so at 5:22, we've got some new information in the investigation into the fishing boat that caught fire at the Embarcadero. Remember that? Plan investigators are drawing out to examine this charged ship and what ignited those flames.
And this new video showing the construction of border wall prototypes. You're watching NBC7 News Today. Time now, 5:23.
NBC7 News Today begins with breaking news.
And good morning to you from Las Vegas. I'm Greg Bledsoe with a special edition of NBC7 News Today. We're learning a lot more about the shooter from this past weekend's attack. We're also hearing some amazing survival stories this morning. We're going to bring you all of that. We're going to hear from Rory Devine coming up in a little bit as well. We want to get to the very latest right now that we know about the shooter, about the investigation, everything that's been coming out over the last 24 hours. So let's get to that right now. What investigators are looking at, they say we're hearing some amazing survival stories, first of all, but also we're also talking to some of the victims. We met a man named George Sanchez yesterday out here on Las Vegas Boulevard. He was at the concert with his girlfriend. He was shot in the arm. At one point, they were separated. Here's what they had to say. Pretty amazing story.
I turned around and I didn't see her, but I don't know if she was behind me or in front at that moment. So I started going back, and there was just more people falling in front.
When I finally got a hold of him and he goes, he was okay, I kept thinking, is he really okay? Is he just telling me he's okay?
Sadly, there was no such reunion for dozens of others. 58 people were killed when 64-year-old Stephen Paddock opened fire at that country music festival from the Mandalay Bay hotel room across the street. More than 500 people were injured. Investigators right now say the shooter set up cameras inside his room and on a service cart outside his room to be able to spy and see if anyone was approaching the room. In the meantime, the shooter's girlfriend is now in custody. Mary Lou Danley was out of the country, overseas. She was in the Philippines. She arrived at LAX yesterday. Investigators will have a lot of questions for her, including a money transfer that was made to an account in the Philippines the same time she was there. It was transferred from the shooter himself. So that's going to be a big part of this investigation. They need some answers right there. The victim part of all of this, we're hearing a lot of amazing survival stories, one after another, strangers helping each other. Rory Devine has one of those right now.
What we hear over and over again in this city are stories about heroism and survival. We begin with a San Marcos father who talks about his son who called him from the concert.
Cell phone rings and he says, "Dad, I've been shot." And then it just went dead.
21-year-old Zach Mesger was shot through the lower back.
He's got a lot of infection because it did pass through the colon.
Zach was with his girlfriend and he told her to get going, run. She ran while calling Zach's mother to let her know what was happening.
She went through a lot, so I know it's tough.
Zach's girlfriend has been with him at the hospital since the shooting. Also there, 6 of Zach's closest friends from San Marcos.
Because I know Zach can feel that positive energy.
I got shot both times while I was laying on top of her, so. And she's very grateful, and she says I'm her hero. It's pretty awesome.
25-year-old Jeffrey Kosher from Valley Center was shot in the lower leg and hip. Heroes came to his rescue. from tying a tourniquet around his leg to getting him to the hospital. Heroes he wants to meet.
Thank them for saving my life.
Thanks and gratitude. Those are also words we hear along with heroism and survival. Zach and Jeffrey's families are just so grateful for the outpouring of support that they have received. Now, Jeffrey could go home from the hospital Thursday, but even when he's back in San Diego, he'll have a lot of rehabilitation. And as for Zach, he's still in the ICU. His father says he has a long road ahead, but he's just grateful. There's that word again. He's just grateful that Zach will be able to make the journey. Reporting, I'm Rory Devine, NBC7.
Yeah, a long road ahead, as Rory mentioned there. More than 500 people were injured. A lot of them are still in the hospital. Liberty Zabala is at University Medical Center this morning with an update on how some of those patients are doing as far as we know so far. Liberty, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Greg. And I spoke with a woman in a very emotional and disturbing interview. I spoke with 43-year-old UCLA nurse Natalie Vanderstay, who told me she was shot in the stomach. She is right now recovering at UMC Trauma Center behind me. She is with her family, and she said it was quick thinking by a cab driver that rushed her here. She said if it wasn't for him, she thought she was going to die. Now, Natalie Vanderstay showed us the wounds on her neck and her leg inside her hospital room. Tears rolled down her cheek as she told us about the pain she felt when the bullet entered her stomach. She said chaos broke out when the gunman fired down into the crowd, and she told me that she was trampled and also cut open her leg. Now, she was eventually able to hop over a fence and then wave down a cab full of people. She said those strangers applied pressure on her wound to keep her alive. She also says after she was shot, she didn't think she was going to make it.
It hurt so bad. But I knew I didn't want to die. I wasn't ready to die. So I just kept pushing forward and trying to use my best instinct and tried to stay low, and I was being trampled and it was so hard to move, you know. Everyone was stepping on everybody.
And that cab driver, Natalie said, insisted on bringing her to UMC because it is a level 1 trauma center. And she credits that decision for keeping her alive and saving her life. And she's very thankful to this cab driver, Greg, but she told me, sadly, she doesn't even know his name. Greg?
And so many stories like that. Thank you for keeping tabs there at the hospital for us, and obviously our thoughts are with all of those people and their families right now. The stories of heroism just keep coming out. Here's another one. A paramedic, his daughter was at the concert. He heard a call come in about the shooting. He gets in his car and drives straight towards the gunfire. Here's what he had to say. Yeah, you can just hear the gunshots there in terrifying moments as well. That paramedic, though, his name is Brian. He and his daughter then stayed at the scene afterwards, helping victims out with IVs, transferring them to hospitals. Just another one of those stories of people rushing in, even when the shooting was going on, to help other people. We've seen so many of those. Now to a story about a couple from Nashville that was staying at the Mandalay Bay Hotel, 11 floors below the shooter. They heard the shooting. They saw glass falling from the window. They immediately rushed to deadbolt their door. We got a chance to talk to them to hear a little bit about the perspective from being inside that hotel when the shooting started. Here's what they had to say. Yeah, pretty terrifying moments there.
Glass shards started falling. Then all of a sudden you'd see people get up and rapidly trying to escape the scene, and that's when it really settled in for me what it was that was happening. You know, and it was just awful. I saw people falling.
Yeah, just amazing there. Now, some resorts on the Strip are considering some changes in security. That's going to be a big part of all this as well, because Stephen Paddock was able to bring those guns into the hotel. There are no security checks, clearly, when you get to a hotel, no metal detectors or anything like that. So will this change anything? That's part of the conversation going on right now. Security at these hotels in Las Vegas. At the Wynn, for example, and the Encore, new bag checks and metal detector inspections are already underway for guests entering the property there. Those in charge of security at hotels say that they're working hard to keep guests and employees safe, but the city's mayor says she's hesitant right now to invade people's privacy. That's a big deal right now. Obviously, every time that we get a little bit safer in some places, a lot of the times it's at the expense of our own privacy. So you got to weigh those two things. That'll be a big conversation going forward here. We're going to continue to update you all morning long from here in Las Vegas, the very latest on the investigation, and more from Liberty and Rory on those incredible survival stories. For now, though, we'll send it back to San Diego. Nicole and Marianne, back to you.
Okay, Greg, we'll check in with you just moments away.
All right, thank you. Turning now to First Alert weather. A little chilly to start off, but definitely warming up. Kind of deceiving day, Jody.
Absolutely chilly to start off, and here's why. Look at this. We don't have any clouds out there. It is clear, so we have maybe just a patch or two of cloud. When you don't have it to hold in the heat, you lose it quickly, and so right now temperatures have plummeted down into the 50s in many parts of the county. And you notice I'm running through our futurecast here. It's not broken. There's just no more clouds that are going to be appearing this afternoon and even into our early evening hours. So what can we expect for today? It's going to be a mostly sunny day today. Beautiful, about 75 at the beaches, which is just kind of spot on for where we should be this time of the year. We started out the week, we were below average. Now we're right around average. And as we head into the coming days, we do have a really big warm up. So you want to be prepared for that, especially as you head into the weekend and have plans. 80 degrees at the beaches, at the inland valleys today. So this is places like Poway, Rancho Bernardo, down through Santee, Lakeside, even East Lake's going to be in the upper 70s. So we are looking at sunshine aplenty. Okay, so here's the deal. As I did tell you, we are headed into the weekend. We do have a big warm up. Temperatures are going to be much warmer than this as we head towards Saturday. That'll be the warmest day. So when I see you in just a couple of minutes, we're going to take a look at San Diego's only 10-day forecast, break it down for you, and help you make your weekend plans, because we're halfway through the week. We've had a very rough week, I know, and we're going to help you plan your weekend. We're going to send it on over to Whitney now.
Thanks, Jody. 5:41, our First Alert traffic time. Okay, now it's 5:41. Things looking good. North County, no problems here. Full speed ahead on all the freeways. Up north, if you're coming south on that 5 or the 15, yeah, it's a nice drive heading downtown. Back in about 6-7 minutes with another update. Keep it here. Good news, no accidents working anywhere out there at the moment. In fact, there's no slowdowns anywhere. It almost feels like a holiday so far on this Wednesday morning. All right, back to you.
Okay, we're going to check back in with Greg and Liberty at 6 o'clock for the latest on the Las Vegas mass shooting. But in the meantime, here's what else we're working on for you. Today, the city is taking 2 steps towards slowing down San Diego's deadly hepatitis A outbreak.
And a local woman got a collections notice from an ambulance ride, even though her insurance company already paid for it. So our NBC7 Response found her some answers. 5:41 right now with coverage you count on. 5:44 right now. This is happening today. Rally against a Target store moving into Ocean Beach. Opponents of the plan are holding a demonstration at 5 this evening at the foot of Newport Avenue. The Target Express could move into the Antique Center on Newport Avenue. Some Ocean Beach residents there, they're concerned that the chain will take away from the town's unique local character. The agency that takes care of regional issues such as transportation says transit projects promised to voters can be accomplished, but only if there are 2 more gas tax increases. Our media partner, Voice of San Diego, reports Sandag discovered a 2004 tax increase brought in far less money than they thought. Sandag said the state needs to raise the gas tax 2 more times to make up the difference. The agency combines tax revenues with money from state and federal resources to build major projects like freeway expansions and new trolley lines.
Imagine being sent to collections for an ambulance ride you thought you paid for years ago. That's what happened with a Coronado woman who said after hours of phone calls, she couldn't get any answers. So she turned to Consumer Bob and NBC7 Responds for some answers.
I was at the Los Coronado doing a water aerobics class, and suddenly it felt like I was getting stabbed in the back. So they called an ambulance, went there, turned out to be kidney stones.
Dina DeMeo says this happened back in 2014. Dina thought the ambulance trip would be covered by her primary and secondary insurance policies.
The bill was paid in full, overpaid actually.
And that was the last Dina says she thought about the trip for years until
I kept getting phone calls from a collection agency. You know, you owe $87, and then suddenly I got one, and now it's up to somehow $657.55.
Dina says she had no idea what happened, especially since her insurance carriers had sent Dina notices in the mail showing they had paid the city of Coronado for the ambulance ride.
It's the point. Insurance companies get a lot of money. And why should I pay $87 more if my insurance company already overpaid $200?
Dina says she spent hours across multiple days on the phone, calling both the city and the collection agency looking for answers. When nothing seemed to work, Dina says she turned to NBC7 Response for help.
Does this wear down on you?
It does, because it's just annoying. It's just another little thing to worry about.
After Dina contacted us, we reached out to the city of Coronado. An analyst for the city manager's office found this chart about Dina's situation. The chart showed Dina's primary insurance carrier, Anthem Blue Cross, had mistakenly withdrawn their entire payment when the city had notified them of the overpayment the company made. This left a balance on Dina's account, but after we contacted the insurance companies, Dina received a letter in the mail. The balance had been wiped clean.
Thank you, Consumer Bob and Tom Jones at NBC San Diego, for finally solving my problem.
Even giving the producer a shout out there. Well, Anthem Blue Cross did not comment for this story. While this was beyond, this mix-up was beyond Dina's control, it still brings into focus the importance of holding on to your receipts, your bills, anything that may come into dispute with your medical care.
It's 5:47 right now. This is a fun story for you to come look at. Early snow in the Colorado Rockies, giving some adventurous skiers and snowboarders a chance to hit the slopes, as you see right there. Pretty impressive sight, though. Snowstorm outside of Denver brought more than a foot of snow. Imagine that, some spots. But a lot of official ski slopes are still not open for the ski season like Arapahoe. So many skiers have set up their own slopes there. I can't imagine. That's amazing. All this snow before Halloween. Now, it's not unheard of, especially in the Rockies, although it's been a few years since snowboarders were treated to fresh powder so early. And it's just only a couple of weeks ago the snow started in the Sierra here in our state.
Yeah, my parents were up at June Lake, got a dusting.
Yeah, got a little dusting up there. You showed me a picture earlier. I think we're all anxious for that seasonal change, but we got to get through fall first.
I know, we want
the Santa Ana season, and chilly out there this morning.
Cool out there this morning. I know, no snow here, but we do have a little chill for us. You know, San Diegans, we get cold easily, right? But look, it is 8 degrees colder in Julian right now than it was same time yesterday. Even near the coast, La Jolla, you're 6 degrees colder than you were 24 hours ago. So we're starting off our morning lower on the thermometer. Here's the thing, though. It's going to be a long one. We're going to climb all the way to some pretty nice temperatures. So let's get your out-the-door forecast for our beaches. And this is Oceanside in the spotlight for today. You're going to be in the low 60s for much of the morning. In fact, in the 60s through 10 a.m. You'll need a light jacket as you head out, but you will be dressing in layers because this afternoon hitting a mild high of about 75. Just really, really nice sunshine across the county early on today. So we are in for a sunny San Diego day. Look at this, inland valleys like La Mesa. Look at La Mesa's in the spotlight. If you're waking up and having your coffee, use it to warm you up. Get some hot chocolate because it's going to be 53 degrees at 7 a.m. and then we climb steadily. We're going to be hitting a high today in that area of anywhere from about 78 to 80 degrees. Highs across the county now running around average, where the coast is mid 70s. The inland valleys are about 80, 70s in the mountains, and low 90s out in the deserts. Here's your 10-day forecast. We're up and away. Look at that. By Friday and Saturday, low 80s at the beaches and low 90s for the inland valleys. So Friday and Saturday will be the hotter days for the inland areas. Mountains and deserts also getting in on this warm-up, warming to the low 80s in the mountains by Saturday, and then upper 90s in the deserts by Saturday as well. The good news is the work week next week brings us back down to normal. So it's not a huge, crazy warm-up, but it is going to be very warm into the weekend. Whitney Southwick.
All those suns on your graphic look like the big moon out there.
Right.
Full moon tomorrow night.
Yep.
Let's enjoy that while we can. Skies get nice and clear. Okay, 5:50, your first alert traffic time. This is a nice shot of the 5 northbound traffic up here at the top of your screen. right around 28th Street. Very busy up that way. Again, so much going on in that particular area. There's a couple of exits there. They get very busy this time of the morning with NASCO and the Naval Base down in San Diego, and folks getting across the bridge headed over to North Island. Meantime, as we approach 6 o'clock, we're only 9 minutes away. We're starting to see that slowing out of the South Bay now. Not bad yet. Don't expect to get bad for another 20, 30 minutes. Right now on the 5, about a 20-minute drive, Border Mission Valley, 18 over here on the 805. And a real nice start to our Wednesday morning. No active accidents out there so far. All right, let's get back over to more news. I'll see you back over here, top of the hour.
Okay, Whitney, thank you. If you're just waking up with us, we have live TV coverage from Las Vegas.
And so we're going to check back in with Greg Bledsoe. He's in Vegas right now, and he's anchoring this special edition of NBC7 News Today, and he's got some new information to share with us about the suspect. That new information surfaced overnight about why the shooter's girlfriend took that trip overseas. And we know that there are a lot of people, some of you watching this morning are in a state of shock, in a state of sorrow. We have a medical expert in our studio this morning to talk about how to handle this tragedy for you and your children. It's 5:51 right now. We've got coverage you count on. And we're back at 5:54 right now. NBC7 Investigates first told you about the San Diego Police Department's use of ShotSpotter technology last year. It's a technology that pinpoints the exact location of any shots or explosions. And today, the Public Safety and Livable Neighborhood Subcommittee will be meeting at 2 this afternoon to review the results of the program so far. San Diego Police told NBC7 the program is slated to last just about a year, and they'll soon take public input in order to determine what to do since that year is almost up.
Also happening today, we'll get an update on the city and county's efforts to slow the hepatitis A outbreak. So far, the county has seen 461 cases, and nearly 70% of those patients have been hospitalized for treatment. 17 people have died from the virus. And San Diego is about to unveil a new effort to provide safe and sanitary conditions to help stop the spread of hepatitis A. Today, San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer will announce a new transitional camp area for the homeless. The city operations yard at 20th and B Streets will be temporarily converted into a place for hundreds of homeless men and women to stay. The transitional camp will open up next week.
It's 5:55 right now. The search for San Diego's next police chief continues, and you're encouraged to give your thoughts at tonight's public input meeting. It's being held at the Mid-City Gym on Landis Street. That meeting starts at 6 o'clock tonight.
The California Attorney General has filed charges against a local jewelry store owner. It's the latest development from a story NBC7 Investigates first brought you back in 2014. Ramil Abakad, the owner of Romano's Jewelry, and his wife are being charged for conspiracy to engage in illegal financing and debt collection practices. The AG says the couple targeted young Marines and sailors, encouraged them to purchase jewelry through their company, and then failed to provide proper paperwork. And when customers fell behind on payments, they were harassed by the couple's debt collectors. In February, Ramil pleaded guilty to 14 felony charges. He was sentenced to 3 years probation, 250 hours of community service, and $55,000 in restitution payments.
It's 5:56 right now, and on this special edition of NBC7 News Today, we are continuing our coverage of the mass shooting in Las Vegas. You're looking at live pictures there right now where there is a growing memorial there for those who died and to hope and pray for those who have been injured. Greg Bledsoe has been anchoring our live coverage all week long. We'll check back in with him when